In August 1944, RAF Bodney's briefing room went quiet when Major George Preddy entered. His P-51 Mustang sat still hot on the tarmac. He'd added 2 more German fighters to his score. 16 kills confirmed. Yet, as he sat down with the gathered pilots of the 352nd Fighter Group, no one offered congratulations. Instead, murmurs, a voice audible enough to travel the room. "That's pretty. He flees whenever it gets heated." A different pilot chuckled. "He has 20 kills, and I've yet to see him dogfight. He just dives, fires, and flees. My own grandmother could score kills using that method." Preddy paid them no mind. It was nothing new to him. Preddy's afraid to fight honorably. True aces engage the enemy in a turn. He's only a hit-and-run type who refuses to stay when the situation gets hard. The critique was widespread. New pilots thought dogfighting was what divided the brave from the fearful. Fellow pilots who saw extended turning battles as the sign of a real flying ace. What they all failed to grasp was that their every belief about air combat was incorrect. Dogfighting was not courage. It was self-destruction disguised as honor. And as his critics ridiculed his refusal to engage on the enemy's terms, Preddy was silently transforming how American pilots waged the air war over Europe. By December 1944, George Preddy would become the top P-51 Mustang ace in American history, holding 26.83 confirmed victories. The majority of pilots who had labeled him a coward would not survive, downed as they tried to show their bravery in turning battles they were bound to lose. This narrative shows how one pilot grasped that physics overcomes courage, and how the coward who avoided dogfights altered American fighter strategy and saved thousands. In 1944, American fighter pilot doctrine was straightforward, idealized, and lethal. True pilots engaged the enemy in turns. Tight, close-quarters dogfighting, where greater ability decided the winner. This conviction originated with World War I aces, with Hollywood films, with every tale of air combat ever narrated. If you were unable to outrun your foe, you were not truly a fighter pilot. The issue was that German fighters could beat American P-51s in a turn at specific speeds and heights. The Focke-Wulf 190 possessed a better roll rate. The Messerschmitt 109 could reduce its turn radius in certain situations. When American pilots entered dogfights, they were engaging on German terms, and it was killing them. The numbers were grim. Through the start of 1944, Allied fighter losses in Europe rose consistently. Veteran pilots, men who had endured months of fighting, were dying in extended turning battles where German aircraft used their strengths. Before moving on, I'm curious where you are viewing this and your thoughts on Preddy's strategy. Was avoiding dogfights cowardly or brilliant? Leave a comment. Also, if you value this kind of historical accuracy, please consider subscribing. These narratives require significant research to ensure precision, and your support makes the effort meaningful. Preddy had seen squadron after squadron lose men in turning battles. Capable men, courageous men, expert pilots, all lost because they thought a fair fight was necessary. He perceived the calculations that all others overlooked. The P-51 Mustang possessed strengths German fighters could not equal. Its speed in level flight, its diving capability, and crucially, its power to regain altitude quicker than any German plane. The choice was to either use those strengths or forfeit them by engaging in dogfights as the enemy dictated. Preddy's strategy was ruthlessly straightforward. Begin 5,000 feet higher than the opponent. Dive at maximum power. In a dive, the P-51 could achieve 500 miles per hour, quicker than any German plane could securely manage. Aim the shot while descending. Fire a single burst, 2 seconds at most. Then, utilize that dive speed to regain altitude before the opponent could respond. Boom and zoom is what pilots named it. Dive, fire, climb out. Do not turn with the opponent. Do not linger for another pass if the shot failed. Never, under any circumstances, accept an invitation to dogfight. His fellow pilots despised it. Where was the talent? Where was the bravery? Any pilot could just aim his plane down and pull the trigger. True aces remained in the battle, turned with their foe, and demonstrated their dominance in extended combat. The ridicule grew as Preddy's tally of kills rose. 5 wins in July, another 4 in August. Every single one matched the same template. Height advantage, diving assault, instant disengagement, no prolonged fighting, no theatrical turning battles, only physics, angles, and 2 seconds of precise gunfire. Preddy's inflating his numbers with simple kills. He hasn't been challenged in actual combat. The 352nd Fighter Group's young lions crave glory. Preddy craves survival, long enough to return home. By September 1944, the arithmetic behind Preddy's method was undeniable. He held 23 confirmed victories, but more revealingly, he had no near misses, no emergency landings, no combat damage that needed urgent measures. His P-51 came back from missions with superficial bullet holes at worst, frequently entirely undamaged. The pilots who ridiculed him were not as fortunate. The casualty rosters of the 352nd Fighter Group revealed a dark narrative. Pilots who engaged in extended turning battles with German fighters were being killed at shocking rates. Some were downed instantly. Others made it through the first engagement only to be trapped during prolonged maneuvers, as fuel levels dropped and options vanished. Colonel Joe Mason, the 352nd Fighter Group's commander for most of 1944, began privately suggesting Preddy's method. Not formally. The previous doctrine was still prevalent in training manuals, yet in confidential mission briefings, the new word spread. Use your height. Avoid turning with them. Fight like Preddy. Nonetheless, the disapproval continued among numerous pilots. Preddy was accumulating victories, true, but he wasn't demonstrating anything. Any pilot could live if they fled whenever situations became hard. True aces stayed and battled. The pivotal shift in comprehension wouldn't originate from tactical debates, but from grasping the physics that those tactics leveraged. What Preddy grasped and what his critics failed to see was energy management. This wasn't fear, it was physics. Each airplane in the air possesses 2 forms of energy. Kinetic energy, which comes from speed, and potential energy, which comes from height. You can exchange one for the other. Dive to turn altitude into speed, or climb to turn speed back into altitude. However, various planes convert energy at various speeds, and therein lay the advantage. The P-51 Mustang excelled at converting energy. Its aerodynamic shape and potent Packard Merlin engine allowed it to dive quickly, hold that speed, and effectively climb back to height. German fighters such as the FW-190 and May 109 were built for different traits, mainly turning ability, which necessitates shedding energy quickly via high G-forces during sharp turns. When American pilots engaged in dogfights, they were willingly giving up their plane's main strength to battle in an area where German fighters were superior. It was akin to a boxer with a longer reach consenting to grapple rather than jab. Tactically nonsensical. Strategically self-destructive. Preddy's boom and zoom leveraged energy advantages without mercy. Begin with 5,000 feet of potential energy. Change it to 500 miles per hour of kinetic energy in the dive. Use that speed advantage for a single fast pass. Then, change surplus kinetic energy back into altitude before the foe can react. The German pilot never had a chance to use his better turning circle, as Preddy never turned. He never had the chance to leverage his plane's advantages because the fight had concluded before he could employ them. This was not fear. This was grasping that air combat was not about bravery or talent in turning battles. It was about physics and the side that battled in line with physical laws. 1. August 6, 1944, the operation that quieted all critics. Preddy's flight met a formation of Messerschmitt 109s protecting German bombers near Hamburg, Germany. 20 opposing fighters. Preddy placed his 4-plane P-51 formation 8,000 feet higher than the enemy. An ideal arrangement. He did not pause, roll, dive, increase speed. One Me-109 detonated from his gunfire. Zoom climb back to height, reposition, a second diving pass. A different 109 leaving smoke and flames. His wingman fought to equal his swift altitude shifts, climbing and diving with a precision that appeared unattainable. 3rd pass. 4th pass. 5th pass. The German formation was breaking apart. Bewildered by assaults from above at speeds their planes could not equal. Pilots who attempted to turn and fight discovered Preddy already ascending, turning his speed back into altitude before they could get a shot. 6th pass. 6. Messerschmitt 109s eliminated in 17 minutes of fighting. Preddy never turned with one enemy plane, never took the bait for a dogfight. He never strayed from energy management principles. The gun camera film showed the whole story upon his return to Bodney. Each victory adhered to the exact same geometry: a diving assault, a 2-second burst, an immediate zoom climb, methodical, precise, indisputable. Now 29 confirmed kills, 0 near misses. The ridicule ended that day. By late 1944, the proof was overpowering. Preddy's strategy was not just ensuring his survival. It was the most efficient method to wage the air war over Europe. His survival percentage, matched with his victory tally, demonstrated that energy management was not fear. It was aerial combat's future. Colonel James D. Maiden, taking command of the 352nd Fighter Group in November 1944, formalized the method. Pilots newly arrived at Bodney were given direct orders: use altitude advantage, conduct diving attacks, do not accept extended turning battles with German fighters. The tactical memos circulating through 8th Air Force fighter groups were more blunt. Enemy planes are designed for turning combat. Do not fight on their terms. Hold the altitude advantage, conduct boom and zoom attacks. Disengage instantly after every pass. What was mocked as cowardice in August was official doctrine by December. Preddy's method was relabeled energy management tactics in training manuals. The ridicule shifted to required instruction. The Germans observed the difference. Luftwaffe battle reports from late 1944 and early 1945 often lamented that American fighters would not dogfight. German aces, skilled in using better turning performance, found they could not apply their talents against foes who assaulted from altitude and vanished before extended combat could begin. December 25, 1944, Preddy was dispatched to intercept German fighters assaulting Allied lines during the Battle of the Bulge. He downed 2 Focke-Wulf 190s employing his usual tactics: diving assaults from height, no turning battles, instant disengagement after every pass. Now 32 confirmed kills. The top-scoring P-51 Mustang ace in the European theater, his strategy was validated. His method had become standard doctrine. He had transformed American fighter combat. Yet war is indifferent to tactics, survival rates, or new methods. In the battle, Preddy chased a damaged German plane at low level over Allied territory near Liege, Belgium. An American anti-aircraft gunner, spotting a fighter flying low amid the chaos and confusion of combat, began shooting. George Preddy died from friendly fire at 25, not from a German pilot who outmaneuvered him. Not because his energy management strategy failed, but because amid the fog of war, even flawless strategy cannot shield you from all things. The pilot, having endured hundreds of combat missions by declining to battle on the enemy's terms, was killed by his own forces. Following the war, Luftwaffe officers disclosed what they had realized by late 1944. American fighter strategy had changed in ways that negated German strengths. Colonel Günther Raoul, one of Germany's top aces with 275 confirmed victories, was one of those who studied the tactical change. In post-war interviews, he admitted that American fighters were no longer playing to German advantages. They would not turn with us. Each engagement was a diving assault from height, followed by an instant disengagement. We were unable to draw them into extended combat where our instruction and aircraft performance strengths mattered. German fighter doctrine was established on better turning performance and pilot ability in close-quarters battle. Once American pilots ceased to accept those terms of battle, that whole tactical system became obsolete. German aces could outmaneuver anyone in the air, but they never had the opportunity. The irony was total. The strategy that was ridiculed as cowardice in 1944 had, by 1945, made German fighter strategy outdated. Energy management principles, battling in the vertical instead of the horizontal, preserving speed and height rather than engaging in turning combat, had altered the basic character of air warfare. Now, every fighter pilot in every military learns energy management as core doctrine. The U.S. Air Force Weapons School instructs what was previously called boom and zoom, now known as vertical maneuvering, as the basis of contemporary air combat strategy. The F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II, America's most sophisticated fighters, are built on the identical principle George Preddy grasped in 1944. Height and energy advantages are more important than turning capacity. Contemporary fighter doctrine directly orders pilots to battle in the vertical, preserve altitude, utilize speed, and shun extended turning combat that drains energy. George Preddy ended the war with 26.83 confirmed victories, the top score of any P-51 Mustang pilot in the European theater. The fractional victory came from a shared kill. More significantly, he demonstrated that air combat is not about bravery and dogfights. It is about grasping physics and declining to battle on the enemy's terms. The pilots who named him a coward did not live through 1944. They were killed demonstrating their courage in turning battles they could not win. Preddy endured until friendly fire took him, because he grasped that honoring fallen allies doesn't mean dying as they did. It means enduring by battling more intelligently. Ultimately, the coward who fled from every dogfight became America's top Mustang ace and transformed fighter combat doctrine. Not in spite of his strategy, but due to it. Physics is indifferent to courage, and in air warfare, the side that acknowledges that fact prevails. One pilot's refusal to engage fairly altered how every fighter pilot on Earth views combat. That is George Preddy's legacy, demonstrating that surviving to fight again isn't fear, it is victory.